Right. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Give me a second. Let me get everything. Shared. Just doing a quick recap of everything we've been talking about throughout the week. Going to kind of put a bow on this black fatigue conversation. If you've been tuned in throughout the week, you know we have dived in to a lot of different concepts. So here, let me just get everything up and running, and then we'll get this thing started. All right, here we go. Right into it. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day you are consuming this. If you're listening to this on the Move Swiftly podcast, appreciate your subscription. Understand we've been at this for 5 years now. I've been going at it for 5 years, and you regular consumers who started listening to me back then, you've seen this show grow. You've seen so much happening. Let me just introduce myself to anybody that may be new to my world, or new to me, or new to the Move Swiftly podcast, whatever it is, however you came in. Appreciate you being here. My name, Aswan Crookshank, one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon-to-be 6-time published author and educator. I created a business, a brand, a way of life, a system that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learned on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a group of employees, a staff that moves as efficiently as a championship high school or youth football team. Be sure you are liking, commenting, and sharing this out to any business, anybody that needs to hear it, but more in particular, any business owners that struggle, that are struggling with turnover to the point in which it's starting to eat away at their profits, and they don't even know if they're going to have a business because of the turnover issue that they're dealing with. So real quick, let me just get through a few announcements, and then we'll get right into kind of more of a recap episode today, where I'm going to just kind of talk a little bit about everything that we have been discussing for the entire week in terms of what black fatigue is doing, why it's a problem, why it's not going anywhere, where the whole thing started, and what's kind of recycling around it, why it continuously comes up over and over again. And I will, at the end of this, I will sort of talk about the real problem and the solution that you need to be focusing on and be thinking about. How do you more so make yourself a solution oriented person? That is going to be the takeaway after today, is understand that every human being that understand that there's a problem that's not going away. All right. There's issues. There's people who have situations in life that they're going through, and you got to work with them. And, you have to figure things out as you go. It's important that you take the solution-oriented mindset towards whatever is happening in your life, whatever you're currently dealing with in life, is take the solution-oriented mindset, because without the solution-oriented mindset, nobody's going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere. All right. You're not going to get anywhere. All right. So first and foremost, if you are a business owner and you have not yet, be sure to go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That is freeguide.makeyourmove.com. You can go and just simply put in your information. You will get a 10-step process on how you can make your teams a whole lot more efficient. Now, I break it down into a very simple math problem. It's establishing measurables. That's number one. You need to have measurables in your business. If you don't, you will lose your business. And you need to create a professional distance. You need to create enough of a professional distance that will lead to a productive environment. Those are the three things that need to start getting implemented in your business right now if you are out there and you're struggling with the constant turnover. So again, go ahead and do that. And then if you are ready to pull the trigger and ready to have me come in and speak to your organization, speak to your staff about adopting the mindset that you want and you need, just simply go to makeyourmove.com. That's makeymove.com. You can, do your research on me, book a workshop, buy books, whatever it is you need to do to get me out there. We can talk about it. Just simply book a meeting and we'll talk about it more. Okay. So all that being said, let's jump right in to the topic, and we'll start with Monday. Now, I was still in Naples when I recorded my Monday episode, and I didn't, it's not that it was a bad episode, but I gotta make sure I revisit it a little bit to have you guys understand the reason that this topic is something that I wanted to speak to is because there's certain levels that I can speak to it from. Myself as a Black male who is the most qualified person you're going to meet that can speak on this is because of the amount of environments I've been in. All right. I grew up, like I mentioned then, in a Caribbean, in a 2-parent household with Caribbean parents that were on me about absolutely everything. Made me read, chores. I mean, they made me do it. They were at every single game. They could tell you every single thing about me. Just making it so I grew up with some principles, grew up with some values, grew up with an understanding that ain't nobody gonna give you shit. All right, ain't nobody gonna give you shit, and you shouldn't expect anyone to just give you shit. You shouldn't expect there to be anyone just giving you stuff. You have to go out and earn your shit. All right. Now that that day, it happened to be Memorial Day, it happened to be a holiday, it happened to be a day that so for those of you who don't know, every single Monday, excuse me. Every Monday, I do this thing called Make Your Move Kickoff Question, but the last Monday of every month, I have dubbed as the time in which I do a reflection on how I did with my monthly goals. I give myself a grade, and then I put my goals out there for the next month, that particular Monday. So the following Monday, I can do the same thing, figure out how I did, how do I need to adjust, what it is I can realistically get done, what I can't realistically get done, and get an opportunity to reflect the last Monday of every month. So everything fit kind of neatly this past Monday because it was the last Monday of May. And I had to, establish some new goals for June. And then I had to see how I did for my previous goals in June and things like that. So that's what I did. And I tied it in. And I didn't plan on doing this until I actually read the article, and I reread the article, and I wrote it all down and got it all kind of written on, got it all published and ready to go. Is the problem that we're seeing with Black fatigue is it has absolutely nothing to do with being Black. It has nothing to do with being Black. And it's more so about fatigue when it comes to people who make excuses for why they're not where they want to be in life. They make excuses for why things aren't happening the way they planned on happening. And instead of just calling it fatigue, when you put the word Black in there, it starts to hit some triggers. It starts to make people feel it starts to create a sense of anxiety amongst people because the way it is just not taught. The fact that it is not mentioned in schools, the fact that it's not, the real history is not taught in schools, it's sort of just kind of touched up on it in schools. And even if it was taught in school, the way a lot of these teachers go about teaching, they more so teach from the standpoint of, I want the kids to memorize certain things for a certain test so they get to keep their job. So they're more so teaching the employee mindset as it is. So when you throw the word Black in there, it's just a heightened sense of anxiety because a lot of people just don't know their history. They don't know what's going on. They don't have the structure that I grew up with in the home, and they're just out there. So, okay, Black fatigue, now it has to become a thing. Now it has to become something that is bigger than it actually is. But the problem, and that was the problem. So basically what I did is I put myself on the hot seat and gave myself a C+ for the May goals because I didn't, in my opinion, at least from my perspective, I did not managed my time the best way when it came to the things that I wanted to do. Not to say that things didn't get done, not to say that things didn't progress, but there's adjustments that I personally needed to make that gave me that C plus. Not that I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I just had a bad month. All right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I had a good month. I'm going to sit here and tell you these are the standards and these are the things that regardless of your gender, regardless of your race, regardless of ethnicity, where you're from, don't give a shit. It's all about what kind of results and standards are you holding yourself to? What standards are you holding yourself to, and what are the results of the standards that you're holding yourself to? That has got to be the key to this. You can't control the other shit. You can't control all the other stuff that goes on in this world and the people who get popularity, and a lot of the reasons that we're seeing this Black fatigue thing go on, because you have a lot of Black people who have massive platforms who are on some bullshit, genuinely on some bullshit. You can go look it up. I believe I have an article written about this. I did do a video about it, just talking about all of the things that have gone viral in the past few months, whether it was Stephen A. and LeBron going at it, two Black men that have massive platforms, and you have two Black men going at it, whether it's Shannon Sharp and him being Mr. I'm for Black people. And next thing you know, he's got his situation with some 19-year-old OnlyFans model. You got a situation where Giannis and Tyrese Halliburton's dad are going at it. You got situation after situation after situation in which you see Blacks killing Blacks, Blacks destroying Black people. And that is the fatigue that we're talking about. It's when you see Black men and Black people making it more difficult, making it more challenging, creating roadblocks for other Blacks. All right. It's when you see stuff like that. That is the stuff that gets that hurts all of us. It hurts all of us because we're not keeping that same energy when it comes to holding ourselves accountable. When I say same energy, we're not keeping the energy that we had in 2020 where, okay, let's get together, let's do something, Black Lives Matter, all this other stuff. We're not keeping that energy when it comes to holding ourselves accountable. I've said it on multiple occasions, and this has become public information. All right. You can go look this up yourself. The facts and the numbers when it comes to this do not lie. The biggest problem that we're seeing when it comes to Black people is the lack of fathers in the home. It's the lack of fatherhood in the home, whether it is Black or minor, then that's just a problem, period. When you don't have a father in the home, when the father is not in the home and the families are broken, okay, you're going to see issues. You're going to see issues come up that calls for young men, young women who are not holding themselves accountable, who are not doing things in a way that is going to make them better. Going to see more laziness. In fact, I'll give you an example, because I was just talking about this yesterday with my boy Ant. Anthony, he's been on the show. If you go look up the episode titled "High School Football in Florida," co-worker of mine, played football with him back in my freshman year, Carson Newman days, my freshman year of college, right? So me and him are the two people who are responsible for, we both teach at a school. We work at a school, and I'm a teacher. I believe he's more security, but long story short, it's a startup school. So we do a lot for the school. All right. Outside of just, kind of being the mentors for the kids and being one of the few men that work in the industry. So, it was our responsibility to drop the kids off from school and drop them back and, do the bus thing and the whole bus run. He normally picks them up and brings them in. I'm normally the one that goes and drops them. So long story short, me and him are the ones responsible for driving the bus. Right. So when we first started doing it, I'm still very out of whack, and I don't have time to vent to you about that right now. But we first started doing it. We had a young Black boy that we dropped off to his father's house, and now it has kids. He has a son that goes to the school as well. And I remember telling him this yesterday. I remember when we first dropped him off, and it was, the young boy and the father picked him up. Remember Aunt telling him, "Hey, look, man, look, I got a boy at that school too. So however I treat my boy, I'm going to treat your boy the same way." We need more of that. I'm saying that because that's Black men holding another Black man accountable, not even holding them accountable, but more so holding himself accountable to go to that other Black man and say, "Hey, look, I got a son there too. I want to see things well. I want to see things I want to see things be productive as well. Those are the things we need more of, not the damn Stephen A's and LeBron's, going at it because somebody might have said something about his son, and now you got to create some media skeptical, and now you have, or now it's RG3 and Bryant. Like, think about the shit that goes viral. Think about it. All right, this is the stuff that Black fatigue. You got. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's the next. I almost forgot to mention that. I mean, you had Ryan Clark and RG3. They're going at it all fucking year. It's been another black man versus another black man on the internet over and over and over and over again. That's where the fatigue is coming from. The fatigue is coming from what happened. What happened? What actually happened? What actually happened to us working together? Not to say you got to like everyone. That is not what I'm advocating for at all. But shit, right? If you're going to go at someone, man, call them up on the phone instead of having to look at this shit on YouTube and then we got to comment on it and shit like that. If Ryan Clark, you got a problem with RG3 and what he said about Angel Reese, all right. Yeah, call my man. Y'all talk the shit out. I gotta go. We gotta do a whole month-long conversation, and then everybody else gotta chime in and do this. And then what becomes the result? What becomes the result? The result becomes it's just two black men again going at it again. And this is what the white racist rich person says. But they want our job. But they want us to. They want us to treat them. They want us to treat them like they're our equals. You see how stupid that is? You see how mind-boggling that is? It's stupid when we can't even get our own shit together and work together in a productive and a cohesive way. We gotta, make assumptions about someone because his ass is dating a white woman or is married to two white women. I mean, so were you. Like, none of that shit matters. None of it, and that leads to the fatigue. This is why this is kind of what I missed when I was because I couldn't. When I first introduced the topic on Monday, I couldn't dive into it the way I wanted to dive into it because I was out of it a little bit and kind of still in vacation mode. But the next day I got into Top 5 Tuesday. All right, and Top 5 Tuesday I thought did pretty well. It did get some decent traction. People were understanding exactly. I mean, one of the people that I've gone back and forth with on the internet when it comes to the elections and the way we think politically, she even agreed with me. I even commented on her back. She goes, we actually see eye to eye when it comes to the top 5 reasons why Black fatigue is here and it's not going anywhere. And it was kind of me reinforcing everything I just said. It has absolutely nothing to do with you being Black. It has everything to do with human nature, how you do things, what you're all about, and what type of person you actually are. Hold on, let me get a sip of water. All right, so we run through these reasons really, really quick, and then we're going to get into Wintrepreneur Wednesday, and then I'll close you guys out with some final thoughts. So, Black fatigue, it starts to create an excuse. All right, it's the invention of an excuse. You heard it all the time. Okay, I didn't do the work I did. I didn't do the work that I needed to do to get some job or to get some career, to get some opportunity, and instead of me blaming myself and saying, hey, I didn't do the work and somebody else did, I'm going to blame it on the fact that my skin color is of this skin color, right? And that's going to be the excuse as to why I didn't get to the places where I needed to get to. All right. That has nothing to do with being Black. It has absolutely nothing to do with being Black. All right. That is what people are tired of. That's fatigue in general. All right, it's fatigue in general, and it's annoying as hell. It's annoying as hell when you gotta hear excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. All right, I myself, and you can read it right here in the article. It's a football player. I had teammates that didn't finish an exercise, always missed practice, skip lift. There was always some damn excuse as to why they couldn't do conditioning. As a trainer, heard it all. Tons of reasons why parents couldn't wake up and do a workout, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. As an educator, you hear it all the time from students. They missing assignments for whatever the excuse is. It's a natural thing. At some point, it gets ridiculous. And the people that really go all in and take their job really seriously, take their role as a leader really seriously, here's what you need to hear. They will ignore you. they will ignore your ass and they will move the fuck on when they hear enough excuses. The real ones, the great ones, the great leaders out there. When they hear excuses, they just decide, look, I'm out of it. I'm moving on from the situation because there's no time for it. There's no place for it when it comes to my mentality and what I'm all about. All right. Now, and number one leads right into number two. It caters to laziness. All right. And the younger that this happens, if you don't have the structure that I had growing up, if you don't have, like I mentioned, the black father, not say black, but just the father in general in the home, a male in the home that has that energy as a male, and not to say women can't do the same thing, but it needs to be a balancing act. It needs to be two people. It needs to have, one adult is saying this and the other adult is backing that person up. That's why it's a team. That's why it's a partnership. All right. You need to, and this is what I've learned being in education for now 4 years now, someone that fell into education because I'm an author. But what I've learned is the best people, the people that I've worked with the best, I've been able, most of the time it's a lady. I have rarely, never actually, now I'm thinking about it. I actually had a male educator that I've been able to partner with certain things and helping out with the behavioral issues of the kids. But when a male makes a statement, or an adult, we'll just say it like this: when an adult makes a statement, another adult needs to back it up because the kid may not understand exactly what's being said. In fact, I just thought of this story just right out the blue, because when I first got into education, like it is now still actually, I was the only male in the particular center I was teaching at, right? So there was a girl who was she was just started VPK, incredibly sensitive. I mean, one of the most sensitive girls that I've ever, in fact, probably the most. It's saying a lot because I've met a lot of sensitive girls that the minute they hear my voice or that it comes at them and they're all in tears, they just break down, right? So there was a girl that was really, really sensitive when it came to just me breaking on her, breaking bad on her, or whatever it is. So what happened was there was another female colleague that I had who had, I want to say she had 2 sons. It was around my age. She had 2 sons. So anyway, she had been around for a while. You could tell that based on how she talked to the kids, she knew certain things to say to them. So she spoke very calmly to, like, when she started crying, or she didn't even start crying. It was just something that the girl said about how Aswan was mean to me. Mr. A was mean to me, said something along those lines. But then she broke it down. She goes, you got to be careful with what you say. You got to say, Mr. A hurt my feelings versus saying Mr. A hurt me. All right. So when the teacher broke it down, when the female colleague broke it down like that, that was a snapshot in terms of how we as adults need to make sure that we're working towards a situation where we're working with other adults to validate the right way to do the positive way to do things in these moments. So we don't have a group of kids that are coming up and their laziness, the lazy element to them is constantly being massaged. All right. That's not what you want to do. These are the things that my parents would do when it came to me needing to vacuum steps, right, and do chores and wash dishes and, go mow the lawn. Small things that will make it so just the lazy element in it, you got to get them out of that shit. I mean, in fact, I remember back when my niece and nephew were really young, my mother would be very adamant, like, look, get them away from that TV shit and watching TV all day and sitting on the couch. Get them away from that. That ain't how we roll here. That is not how we roll here, right? So number 2, it caters to laziness. But 3, it keeps you in a comfort zone, which again, the more laziness gets massaged, the more of the comfort zone you stay in, and then it becomes what we like to paint as entertainment. All right. This is where we talked about what sparked this whole conversation, which is when it was Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. And I mean, if you actually watched the game of basketball, you see Angel Reese was wrong. She was wrong for what she did. She pushes the teammate. Caitlin Clark is obviously upset, and she goes and fouls her in a common foul. That's what they do in the game of basketball. Angel Reese should not get up and get ready to swing on her and go and create this whole skeptical about the whole thing. And that is what people were talking about because it was entertainment. It was not basketball. It was not good for the game. It is not good for the game to have 2 people fighting. That is not good for the game. All right. That's what we talked about. We talked about the difference between what's good for the game and what's just entertainment to people, because it's just like, Showed you, told you, this is the way it is. I told you, this is the way it is. All right. And then number 5, it creates a bond with children that they don't need. So all of that, what we said, is basically kind of putting a bow on Top 5 Tuesday in terms of when you take into consideration number 1, which was the invention of an excuse. Number 2, the catering to laziness. Number 3, the comfort zone it creates. Number 4, the entertainment element. All of that creates a bond with kids that the same cycle goes over and over and over again. And that's a dangerous place to be in, because what I talked about this a little bit yesterday is when you have a situation like that, there was a kid. So again, I'll tell the story now if it's your first time tuning in. But what I talked about yesterday was what actually made me really want to turn this into a week-long conversation. Was one of the students that I teach personally, I've known for the past 3 years. He's getting ready to go to middle school, who screamed out, he said something about Black Lives Matter, right? And I responded to what he said by saying all lives matter. And he immediately responded to me. As a 5th grade boy we're talking about, right? He really responded to me and he goes, "Oh, you're one of those," right? So I understood his situation, because I know him personally. I know his situation. I know his family situation and all that. So I couldn't, take off the baseball, take the baseball bat and, hit him with it and start giving him facts. And this is what BLM was about. This is what the founders did with the money. And this, I couldn't hit him with that. It would be too much information at that point to hit him with those kinds of things. All right. But the point of me bringing it up is because I was around his age when I met, and I was mentored by this guy that you're seeing right here on the screen, Coach Bryant Davis. Coach Bryant Davis, who made it a point when he came to us, he told us as players, we do not use the N-word out here on this football field. We do not use the N-word. There's no N-words out here. We don't do that. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to work hard. I spoke about the acronym that he created that essentially sparked the idea for this whole Move Swiftly movement, which was water, work ethic, attitude, teamwork, enthusiasm, and respect. And he went on a whole tangent one practice about we don't use the N-word. And in saying that, there was a sense of structure that we had, because we were coming up in a generation. It was a generation where we saw people making money off using the N-word. We're listening to the rappers and DMX. And like I was telling you guys yesterday, DMX was on, he was playlist. We've been listening to DMX as we're going out, walking off the field. He'd be like, "Stop, drop, shut him down, open up shop. Oh, no. That's how the Warriors," that was our thing, all my get down like what? Get down like DMX was our theme music. So it was so important. And I'm not going to just trash the culture. I'm not going to trash the rappers, because I'm telling you, look, if you're going to go do what you got to do to make your money, that's fair. All right. But what he was able to do as a Black man by giving us that perspective is he was saying, hey, there's other ways you can make money instead of using that word. All right. There's other things that you can do to use that. Not to say we can't use the word when we're, maybe hanging out with friends or whatever. If you want to maybe it slips out when you're listening to a song or whatever, but giving us that perspective, and more so giving the perspective of, hey, we're going to be out here working hard, gelling as a team, respecting each other, being enthusiastic. These are the positive qualities. These are the things that we're going to be focusing on. That is what was important, because it's all balance. It was all balance. All right. So spoke on that yesterday, and that's where I want to kind of put a bow and put an end to this whole conversation of Black fatigue. And I'll just explain to you now, as I close you guys out, is that Black fatigue, again, I want to make sure I'm on the record saying this as frequently as possible. All right. It has absolutely nothing to do with being Black, nothing to do with being white, nothing to do with being Hispanic, nothing to do with whatever ethnicity or what other gender you want to name. It is all about fatigue. It is fatigue in general, and it's human nature. It's human nature for anybody to continuously use excuses, be lazy, and always be blaming somebody else for the things that are happening to them and not happening in their life. It is just absolutely annoying. It's human nature to ignore those folks. It's a human nature to eventually just become so sick and tired of hearing bullshit that you move on. All right. That is what it's all about. So it has nothing to do with being black, and be clear about that and ask yourself, am I going to be the person now that is actually holding him or herself accountable for the things I create and the things I want to do? Or am I going to be the person that's constantly making excuses, blaming other folks for why things didn't get done, and ultimately ending up where I'm going to end up? The choice is yours every single day, folks. The choice is yours every single day, folks. The choice is yours every single day. Every single opportunity that you would get to see this beautiful sunrise, that you get 24 hours, take advantage of your time, take ownership of your time, start building up your own stuff, start really holding yourself accountable for things not getting done. Look at your flaws, find people that are going to give it to you as straight and honest as possible, not going to bullshit you, not going to hide rough conversations from you. You got to get in the habit of wanting to hear the shots. In fact, next week, we're going to be talking all about not just my flaws, but just how flaws that every human being has in general, how you use those flaws to create something that's beneficial and advantageous to you, because we all have flaws, and it's up to you to look at the flaws as something that's positive and something that can get you to the places that you want to get to. So we'll dive into all of that on Monday. Tomorrow, look out for Faith-Based Friday. Saturday, we're finishing up the Miami versus Gators. And then Sunday, my good friend Kimberly Blue, we got Stay Hired Sunday again. And then Monday, we'll get into a new week of evergreen stuff, as we normally do over here in the Move Swiftly world. All right. So main website to check out to dive deeper into everything I'm doing, it's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.